Good morning. My name is Anna Woodbury, and I will be presenting a persuasive speech on immunizations and vaccinations. Immunizations are, are one of those things that if you don't hear something about it in the news, or if your child doesn't develop a sickness that can be preventable from a immunization, they're kind of just not something you really talk about. But the truth is, they're very important, and there's some protections that we have set in place to prevent a lot of illnesses that are going around. Um, and honestly, it's really hard to explain immunizations and especially explain it to somebody who is so against putting these immunizations into their children's body, but they are very beneficial. When it comes down to it, the measles cases that are going around, they're gotten very high, and the reason they're getting very high is because there's less vaccinated children. And although there are some cons to getting vaccinations and immunizations, there's a con when you get into a car, when you're polluting the air, when you know you're putting makeup on your face. What is that made out of? There's always these pros and cons to things. However, the pros do outweigh the cons when it comes to immunizations and vaccinations. um, Fewer people are getting them, and that's what it comes down to. And it gives these diseases a way to spread again. And once they start spreading, it's just going to get worse. And it's mostly from the parents that choose to skip the shots within their children. Um, like I said, measles is the outbreak is popping up in a lot of different places, and it's what is very big right now. It starts off with a rash, but it's not just a rash. It causes fever, dehydration, brain swelling, long-term complications, and it spreads ridiculously fast, especially in schools and crowded places. The same goes for the whooping cough, which hits babies, older adults harder. Um, Babies can't get fully vaccinated at their current age, so they rely on us to get vaccinated to help not spread the whooping cough so they can, contract it. Um, it becomes very frustrating because all these parents that think it's best for their children, and it may be, but from research and information, it comes down to these kids not getting vaccinated. It's causing other kids to get sick and pass away. Um, so the solution is not very complicated at all. Get vaccinated, staying up to date. These vaccines have been studied, they've been tested, they've been monitored, they have been improving over a long duration of time. The people who make these vaccines are making to help us stay healthy, to help us not have these vaccines that back in the day people were dying from left and right, but now people are surviving. We're not seeing hardly any cases of it. But when it comes down to it, vaccines don't just protect you, they protect other people. And that's really what needs to be looked at too. And if we want to care about the other people around us and our future children, our future grandchildren, this is something we need to think of. I know people worry about the side effects, and I get that. I worry about the side effects of my own child. But sometimes a sore arm, possible fever, things that you can break with Tylenol or possibly just break with a warm Luke bath, I think it's worth it, to prevent your child from contracting or spreading a deadly virus that is preventable from a shot. Especially for older people too. A lot of people think that it's mostly kids that are impacted by not being vaccinated, but a lot of older people that contract these sicknesses tend to get very ill very fast and don't survive. So that's really something to keep in mind as well. When you compare everything that we talked about with the vaccine, the risk, of getting the measles vaccine, pneumonia, meningitis, and you compare it to actually getting it, they do not compare. Getting pneumonia, getting meningitis, getting measles, they're deadly. Getting a vaccine can just cause side effects that are not deadly. There's always those one-off situations where it's easy to blame a vaccine if something underlining's going, but when it comes down to it, the pros and cons, the pros outweigh the cons when it comes to immunizations and vaccinations. So during this conversation, I just want to share that immunizations are very important. And although I agree with being able to make, having your own say so in your child's, immunization and your child's life, I think it's very important to consider your children, to consider the people that surround you, the elderly, the young children, and think about what these vaccines can do to help prevent possibly people passing away and dying sooner than could be prevented from these vaccines. I will say, since vaccinations have become a thing, from the research that I found, there have been fewer hospitalizations, fewer outbreaks, fewer emergencies, and one shot can protect you for years. So if that one shot can protect you for years and keep you out of the hospital, keep you from having these emergent situations, I highly recommend it. Research highly recommends it. Doctors don't recommend vaccines because they want to give a shot. They believe in them. They do the research behind them. And that is my speech on immunizations and vaccinations. Have a great day.